and such conversations could be had in a more conducive environment. Do you think that this one is misplaced?
To start with, when I used to agree with Raila Amolo Odinga on everything else, but when the conclave was called, I said no. And the reason I said no is that they had come up with a 10-point agenda, including the protection of our civil liberties and the right to associate and so on and so forth. He was sitting in a government with William Ruto, and people were being abducted left, right, and center. The death of Albert Ojwang happened at around the time when Raila Odinga was asking for a conclave. I said, wait a minute. This BAMBA I supported has changed since he started working with William Ruto. And since I never wanted to fight BAMBA, and I'll never fight him even in his grave, I decided never to work with that administration. And that's where I drew the line, and I said, my support for BAMBA ends where his relationship with William Ruto begins. Okay? But BAMBA as a person, I still continue to hold him in very high esteem. So conclave was a bad idea. Why would you want us to discuss with William Ruto at a time when his administration was still abducting young children? People were being put in Subarus, people were being killed. He's declaring Risasi ya Mugu, and then he's saying, let's have a conclave. So it was a waste of energy, it was a waste of our resources, it was the wrong idea, it shouldn't have happened. So, and that does not mean that I stopped respecting BAMBA. I stopped respecting his relationship with William Ruto. And to me, my support for him ends where his relationship with William Ruto begins. Now, I agree we need to have a national dialogue and conversation. But what I don't agree is who should be in that room. Because the first person who should be in that room is that army guy, is that soldier, is that policeman, we don't know what he was, who was kneeling down at Parliament holding an AK-47, aiming at the brains of young people and spilling them in tarmac. That guy must be in that room. The nurses who've gone on strike for a very long time because they do not have their pay, yet there's government wasting money and bribing people at State House, need to be in that room. Now, the rice farmers in Mwea, whose rice is rotting in the farm, and this administration is importing 500,000 metric tons of rice, need to be in that room. The people of Mumias, the people of Western, who are suffering with cane rotting in the farms, ask them. And this government is importing sugar, need to be in that room. The cops who were present during the death of Albert Ojwang need to be in that room. The parents whose children are missing, more than 200 of them, nobody wants to talk about those parents. And do you know how much pain it is to them until now? And it was written and it was discussed in Parliament that more than 200 young people have been missing since the Gen Z demos. They don't want to have that conversation. Those are the people who need to be in that room. Now, there were men in balaclavas who came to us in Olkalao, and it was said that they are not known somehow, but they were parking their vehicles at the county commissioner's office. Those men need to be in that room. The county commissioner in Olkalao at that point, because these men in balaclavas who were killing our people and they killed two who we buried, need to be in that room. That's the conversation we want to start having today. Now, you know, when Mandela was president, at one point he needed to have his birthday. And he was asked, who are you going to have your birthday with? Mandela said, I want to have one child from one of the poorest African families who is living with HIV/AIDS. So what they did, they had to come home. And they got a child who was first living with HIV/AIDS and very disadvantaged and very poor. So he sat on a table with a collection of such children for his birthday. And I felt this was a living saint. William Ruto is spending his time chauffeuring a guy called Chivayo. Kenyans, go and do your homework, read about him. William Ruto is spending his time with Sudanese rebels at KICC. We even lost tea business worth 5 billion to Sudan. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Finally, does the opposition have an agenda? You know the problem with government? If we say things and you don't hear, don't come and blame us. You know, they keep saying that sisi hatuna agenda. We tell them, if your ears have a problem, how can you blame us for not hearing what we are telling you? Mm-hmm. We have always said, and I will say it for the umpteenth time on this television, Kenya tusikizeni, our agenda number one is the protection and preservation of human life. Let us not talk about roads when our people are to be killed. Mm-hmm. Let us not talk about hospitals. The most important agenda we can have as a conversation is a president who shall protect our right to be alive.
All right.
The second one, which is tied to that one, is that we shall be protected from arbitrary arrest, unfortunate beatings, being killed in police cells. So the first agenda is human rights. That the right to life, it begins there. The right to, the protection of our civil liberties. Because let me tell you, in Dimuli, it doesn't matter what you do as a nation. As long as people are being killed, as long as watu wanapigwa risasi ya mguu, there is this MP from Belgut who came and said, hata ifai kuwa risasi ya mguu, they are supposed to be shot to die, and that person is still walking and comfortable. As long as we have cabinet secretaries working in this country and calling others hyenas, and nothing is happening to them, but when Kagushia speaks, there is a battalion of 30 Subaru sent to him in one night. We are not saying that anybody has got a right to speak carelessly. What we are saying is that everybody who speaks carelessly must be treated the same.
All right.
We are waiting to see Subaru's coming for Duale. And finally, we also want a president who is not bringing us diseases. Every other country is fighting to lock out diseases from their country. And there are people so well educated, so polished, like my friend Nyamori here, who is saying that a head of state who goes out of his way to import Ebola into this country is a person who deserves a second chance. Now, that is the kind of thinking that we need to depart from. That for as long as these people are being pleased, they are okay with someone going and literally importing Ebola into a country. The US is trying to keep it as far as possible from themselves. The UK is trying to keep it as far as possible from themselves. We are actually paying the price and say it, bring it to us. And someone is telling you, finally, State House, the person who decides that the best way to go about life is destroying our forests. Go to Kenare here. All our trees have been felled down. Up to after Kijabe Mission Hospital. Really? Everywhere you go, our trees are being felled. Come to Ngong Forest here. Now they have decided, Meru is such a big county that the only place they can build a state house is to destroy Meru Forest. You ask them, why is it necessary for you to come in? I saw the minister in charge of environment the other day coming and saying that we want to cut down 3 acres of trees in Karuro Forest. Original trees that were here before creation. Wakate hizo wapande seedlings. And someone is saying that that's an administration that deserves another 5-year term. The conversation that begins today should have those people in the room. Right. Na wale wa balaklava kama hawako kwa hiyo room, Nyamori ujue ni uongo. We are not having a national conversation. The people who are killing us, the Subaru abductors, kama hawako kwa hiyo conversation leo, hakuna conversation.
The biggest problem with Vision 2030, and many people have said that it was just used as one of those statements that people make